Welcome to the Sellernomics Podcast, where we share valuable tips and information in the Amazon and e-commerce space. Each week, we deliver the best interviews with some of the top Amazon personalities in the industry to help you grow your business. Today's episode is brought to you by GETIDA, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at getida.com/Sellernomics. And now, here are your hosts, Rob Stanley and Lisa Kinski.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Sellernomics. My name is Lisa Kinski. I'm joined by Rob Stanley, and we have a very exciting episode for you guys today, a very hot topic. Let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. So we have Anthony Lee with us from Signalytics, and we are talking about how e-commerce business owners and really Amazon sellers specifically can use AI to help grow their businesses. So Anthony, welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
We are so excited to have you on. So I know that this is a topic that Rob is quite passionate about. It goes right over my head, honestly, but let's just get straight into it. So AI, I guess AI is kind of synonymous with ChatGPT now, but I know they're run a little bit differently. So let's just say in general, how can an e-commerce business owner use AI to help grow their business? How can they leverage AI?
Sure. Well, I guess in a general sense, AI, artificial intelligence, can do a whole bunch of crazy stuff. But like you said, we're talking about the concept that's synonymous with ChatGPT. So basically what that means is we're talking about the large language model that has become super popular. As a language model, what that means is that it's really good with writing and communicating specifically. So communication, essentially. And there's a whole lot you can do with that as a seller of online things, right? One of the things that is just kind of huge when you're selling things online is content of all kinds, whether that be technical content, whether that be entertaining content, whether that be your marketing, whether that be your communication with buyers, with potential buyers, sales information. All of that is content, and all of that is communication. And a large language model can handle taking on the burden of a lot of that communication. So to kind of get into the specifics of what an e-commerce seller can do with it, I mean, the sky's kind of the limit there. So we're talking about online listing copy, right? We're talking about content about your products, right? So maybe affiliate blog articles, etc. We're talking about communication with customers. So that's like AI assisted support bots, right? We're talking about email communications. AI can write really, I mean, it's really good at writing a lot of stuff. So it can write really good persuasive emails, really good, response emails. I mean, you can set it up for anything. So I know that's kind of a general, but like, it's just like, there's so much you can do. So
Anthony, I got a quick question for you though, because there's a lot of discussion right now. So if I'm using, let's say, ChatGPT or something like that to rewrite my titles or possibly my bullet points or description, there's a bit of talk about kind of these AI detection tools and things that are seeing that they're able to see like, hey, this was written with AI. But how relevant is that when it comes to, I know that's more relevant maybe when it comes to writing an entire blog article or possibly ebook or things like that. But when it comes to your Amazon listings, your title usually is written by you anyways. Usually your bullet points are. So if you're just using it to kind of clean it up or maybe a little more SEO friendly with some keywords, do you think that this kind of AI detection stuff will also apply to kind of your Amazon listings, or is that still more on the blog side? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't even think that's really relevant on the blog side. I think a lot of companies it's an age-old tactic. We've seen a lot of it in Amazon too. It's the whole fear marketing, like, oh no, this is going to happen unless you use us. Google's already come out and said they don't care. Like, as long as it's not spam, literally, as long as it's not a bunch of crap, they don't care who wrote it. And they've said that. They've changed their terms of service so that they could make that clear. I think teachers care. So that's kind of stuff that probably they'll be using. as of right now, Amazon has no reason to care. Now, that doesn't mean that won't change. It could happen. Like, let's say, for example, people start setting up automations, and next thing you know, they're just spamming Amazon with all of these listings with tons of irrelevant content. They might have to become involved. I still don't think that the route that they'll decide to take is, hey, we're going to ban AI, generated content. But, I don't know Amazon. I don't know the mind of Amazon, so I'm not sure how they would address that. But if that ever becomes a problem, that could be, obviously, that's going to ruin a bunch of stuff. But as of right now, it's not a matter of who wrote it. It's a matter of how effective it is at helping shoppers find the right products. And if AI can do that better than humans, I don't think Amazon cares, because it serves their end goal.
Right, it leads to more conversions on the site. So is there anything that a seller can't use AI for, right? On
Sure.
Amazon specifically. Let's focus on Amazon.
So right now, all right, so obviously, like we just discussed, it's really good with all the text stuff, right? So your titles, even keyword analysis. I do this a lot with ChatGPT. I'll put in competitor listings, and now with GPT-4, it has a much larger amount of input you can put in it. You put in a bunch of competitor listings, and it can tell you things like the keyword density and how many times the keyword was repeated and what persuasive statements were made in those particular listings, and then also suggest which ones they didn't say that you probably should. It's really good at analysis, and I love using it for that too. So all the text stuff, right, including your bullet points, your description, keyword analysis, competitor analysis, all that stuff, it's really good at. What AI currently struggles with is imagery. And the reason is because it's amazing at creating art. But when you're, and it's not just Amazon listings too, you're talking about Amazon posts, you're talking about blog articles, affiliate articles, all this stuff needs to use pictures of actual products. And that it doesn't work well if that's art. So you're trying to tell the AI, and in this instance, we're talking about something other than the language model. Now we're talking about all the stuff that was built on the Stable Diffusion AI, which is what creates imagery. When you're telling this machine, I want this thing, essentially it's like pulling from all of this information and kind of creating this weird, swirly, dream-like image, and then attempting to make it as real as possible. Sometimes it gets it right, but it's not systemic enough. It's not systematic enough to get it right every time. So you're not going to get 8 images. You might be able to talk to it 10 times and get 2 good images out of it, but you won't get a whole listing's worth, and they won't be identical. And that's kind of the problem. So that we're moving in a direction where stuff like that starts being addressed. But right now, that's a limitation.
Yeah. And the thing I noticed too, Anthony, is when it comes to imaging words, it never puts a word up. Even writing the word it's 3 letters, THE, right? It will not do it. It'll look all squiggly and won't even look correct. I tried using, this is before ChatGPT and some of the other ones. There was a thing called Dolly, which you're probably familiar with. And I was trying to create a logo. I said, create a logo out of the following word, and it could not get it right. I mean, it read what the word was, and it was trying to give me images related to that word, but not make an actual logo out of the word. And that reason I'm saying this and how this kind of ties back into Amazon is there is a few programs out there that will allow you to isolate your product and try to put it into different scenarios, lifestyle type images. It does okay. It's getting better. But remember, the first thing you have to do is isolate your specific product, and it won't change your product or anything. It'll try to put it into, it'll take your product and put it in somebody's hand or in a scenario. And those are getting good. They're not perfect yet. But yeah, it definitely struggles with images for sure. Just real quick before we go too much deeper into ChatGPT, just quickly, how long have you been kind of dealing with AI type scenarios, Dolly, or any of those? And what kind of brought you into this to kind of help other sellers out with AI type technology?
So, interestingly, I had a ChatGPT account like a year ago. So when everybody started blowing up, I was like, "Oh, I got to sign up for this." It was like, "Your trial's already over." Duh, because I signed up like a year ago, back when it was still Babbage or something like that.
Yep.
So I've been playing with it for a while, but really, I think my history in this particular realm of technology starts in like 2018 because I've been building chatbots. That was back when a mini chat had an integration with Google Dialogflow, and I was trying to make that work, but it is unnecessarily complicated. But yeah, like, so trying to make machines sound like humans has been something I've been doing for many years. So when this came out, it was literally just such a natural progression. And as soon as they started making no code modules and they added, API access to this stuff, I knew, I can literally do all the stuff I've been doing for years now, just make it easier to scale with AI. So that's kind of how I ended up in this situation. It was a natural progression of stuff I've been doing for a while, but now AI just makes it so much easier, so much more scalable, and you can do a lot more with it. And I already had the foundational knowledge of like how to access this stuff. So it was, connect the dots.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little early, but I think we'll take just a quick commercial break because the second part of this conversation about predicting the future of AI in e-commerce and what it means for Amazon sellers, what they'll be able to do with here. So let's go on ahead and a quick message from our sponsors.
Today's episode is brought to you by GETIDA, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at getida.com/sellernomics.
All right, so everybody be sure to head over to getida.com/sellernomics, get your first $400 in FBA reimbursements free. Finger guns. So we talked like already a little bit about the progression of AI, right? Like from, what used to be ManyChat, and you guys said something called Dolly. Again, this is very foreign to me. I was busy doing some other stuff at that time. But would love to hear your predictions of what AI will be able to do, not only itself in the future, what it's going to be able to evolve to do, but only what sellers are going to be able to do with it in the future as well, like its capabilities, and then how they'll be able to utilize it.
100%. Well, right off the bat, we already know that the text stuff is going to get better. A lot of people have kind of rushed to the finish line with AI tools just to kind of be first. Most of them are mediocre at best. Really, you can do most of what you want to do with the stuff that already exists with like OpenAI's interface, ChatGPT. But we will see better tools. I know, because at very least, I'm going to build one with regard to helping craft really awesome Amazon listings, the text there, because again, its analysis is amazing and it's a really good copywriter, and a lot of people aren't. And it's like, this is a great, meeting of those minds. What we will also see it be able to do in the future is a lot better stuff with images. Like Rob had mentioned, there's currently some things where it'll like take your product and put it in somebody's hand. I think we're going to see the fastest evolution there, right? Because that's the easiest, because they're not actually asking the AI to create the product. They're asking the AI to create the environment around the product. So we're going to start seeing a lot more of that in e-commerce, guaranteed. And it's going to be a competitive space. That's another thing that I predict. It'll get to the point where you will no longer have to actually have a photo shoot for your product. You just need to be able to take some clear images with like your phone or something of your product. And then the AI is going to create the photo shoot essentially for you, because it's going to put it in people's hands. It's going to put it on the kitchen table. It's going to be able to do all that. We can do some of that now, but guaranteed you'll see that a lot more. And that's probably like months away, right? Really, really soon.
Well, it already like half exists, right? Like you can have like there's the see it in your space, or however they have it worded, of like, here's this rug, here's this table, it knows its dimensions. You take a picture of your room and put it in there. And you can even spin the room around if you want, like see it at different angles. I don't know. Is it going to be sophisticated enough do you predict it being sophisticated enough to say, I need this in a Christmas setting with 3 friends and a dog? Like, is it going to be able to be hyper specific in that way?
100%. First of all, I want to say I love your enthusiasm. What you just mentioned, though, was a completely different technology. You were talking about AR.
No. See,
AR,
to me, they're the same. They're the same.
Completely different technology.
Tell us the difference, Anthony.
Well, what you were talking about was augmented reality, and that's where you take the stuff that you have digitally stored. So in this instance, you have the image already on Amazon, and then you place it in your reality so that you can see how it would exist in that space. But what we're talking about is actually imagery that is generated, and yes, AI can already be that specific. You can go to Midjourney right now and say, make me a room with a Christmas tree, 2 friends and a dog, and it will and tell it you want it to. You have to use the keywords, right? Like photorealistic, hyper realistic, that kind of thing. But if you tell it to be super granular and try to create something that looks like a photograph, especially with Midjourney V5, it will do that. So all you have to do is connect those technologies and now tell it, hey, take this thing, and you're not going to do anything to this thing. You're going to keep this thing, but put it in that setting, and voila, it does it. It will absolutely be able to do that. And like I said, we're probably weeks away from that.
Gotcha. Wow, that's crazy. But will you need to take like a 360 picture of that thing so that it can have it in different environments more easily? Like how much not additional work, but what's going to be on the seller now to give the AI the best that it needs to do the job correctly, so it doesn't look like it's computer generated?
So obviously, the more input you can give the AI, the better the output's going to be. But one of the things that AI happens to be really good at is like generating missing pieces of a photo. Like it already does that really well. So if you give it something, as long as it knows what that thing is, so if it's been trained on that kind of object before and you give it to it from one dimension, it's going to probably be able to fill in the rest because there's already technologies that do that. Obviously, this isn't going to work every time, right? If you have a supplement bottle, it can't tell you what the label says on the back. So you're going to have to give it every angle because we already know if it tries to fill that in itself, it's going to screw it up horribly because it's really bad with words. So yeah, you just have to know that the better the input, the better the output. And the interesting thing about that is what that means is the landscape doesn't change a whole lot because right now what you have is a bunch of sellers putting a ton of effort in and they have beautiful listings, and then some who aren't putting a lot of effort in and their listings aren't great. The same, like it doesn't change. It just, the tool just makes it more scalable, but you're still going to have sellers who do the extra effort to get every angle possible and feed the AI everything that it needs to do really good work with it. And then those that are going to probably hook it up to an automation machine and try to spit out too many listings at once with not enough data, and it won't look good. And thus the cycle continues.
Yeah. Anthony, what about, just talk a little bit about the word AI itself. So a lot of people are just assuming like, hey, these chat GPTs and the other type of programs are thinking for themselves, but are they really thinking for themselves? Or are they thinking based off of or using data that has been given to them to come up with something? So it's not like it's thinking forward going, explain kind of, maybe I'm kind of messing up. Hopefully you understand what I mean, but I mean, like we're not at Terminator level here yet. Like where robots are running around.
I'm seeing like iRobot Eagle Eye happening. So
not
go
even
ahead and explain it.
Yeah, not even a little bit. So what you're talking about is a concept that a lot of people try to assign true AI to, and that's essentially self-awareness. You have to have self-awareness in order to think yourself. And that is not anything that machines have right now. And I don't even think that's a progression, right? I think that's a completely separate thing, like altogether. I don't believe that eventually we end up with a machine that understands itself. Like I don't think humans can program that. So what artificial intelligence really is just a simulation of intelligent actions, right? So what's happening is that the human mind is intellect is incredible. The stuff that it can do, the closest thing that we can get is machine learning algorithms that can simulate some of those actions. And what that means is rather than just doing 2 + 2 = 4 or solving an equation, what this is able to do is take the context of everything that it was trained on and through predictive algorithms figure out what is the most logical next thing to say. And that's what a text completion model is, and that's what these language models are, right? That's all it's doing. So in that way, it is simulating the actions of human intellect, but nowhere near to the same degree. Things like creativity don't exist, even though GPT-4 looks amazingly creative. That is only because the inputs that it was given were creative. But creativity doesn't exist, right? The idea of, in AI, the idea of dreaming up new possibilities, that's not something that it does. Anyway, so that's how I would define it.
Gotcha. And you've said GPT-4 a couple of times. Is this like the next version of ChatGPT? Because I've seen that on like scrolling through my LinkedIn feed. It's been a very hot topic, you know, going back through everything I've missed while we were at the Prosper show. Talk to us a little bit about what that is.
Sure. So I had mentioned that I was playing with ChatGPT back when it was Babbage. Babbage is one of the earlier models. It's like GPT-2, I think. Okay. That might have even been 1. Anyway, essentially, it was trained on a lot less data. So when you talk to it, it didn't know as much and made a lot more mistakes, and it sounded like a robot. GPT-3 came out, and it was fascinating, and it blew up because it doesn't sound like a robot. Like it really does sound like you could be talking to a person. Obviously, it still had a whole lot of mistakes, but the level of its capabilities to act on the vast knowledge that it was trained on, to come up with unique concepts that might even sound new to us as humans. That's why everybody loved it so much. Well, GPT-4 is the next iteration. It's been trained on even more data. It makes less mistakes. It's just overall smarter, right? Like you can always tell that you're talking to somebody that's super intelligent, right? And GPT-4 is that person. You're talking to it now, and it's like, I feel like you can answer any question that I have. Now it can't, but it feels like that because it's so right so often, and that's why everybody's talking about it right now.
Gotcha. I have like a couple more questions that bounce around a little bit, so I'll just pick one. What are some of the other AI tools that you recommend for Amazon sellers to help them scale right now?
Okay, well, other than the obvious tool that Signalytics builds, because I will be building it and I'm determined to make it the best on the market, hands down. Other than that, when it comes out, I think that the standard GPT interface with GPT Plus, which is the $20 a month subscription that gives you access to GPT-4, I think that's really good because you're going to see a notable difference between the outputs of 3 and 4. And the reason why I think that's good for Amazon sellers is because the thing that most Amazon sellers in my experience are looking for is help with copy, because they don't feel like copywriting is their strong suit. If you're a good copywriter, you probably don't really need this stuff.
Yeah.
You might want to still play with it, but you don't need it. But if you're not, then this is your friend, and GPT-4 is actually better than 3. So I would say that the $20 a month is worth it in that respect. Other than that, Midjourney, if you really want to play with an engine, there's 2 actually. Midjourney, if you want to play with an engine that can come close to like really, really good like photorealistic imagery. And that's like with a Discord interface. And then if you're doing weird geek out stuff like me and playing with an API, there's something called the Stable Diffusion API that allows you access to an API called Dream Booth. And through this, you can like train your own models. But also the StableDiffusionAPI.com website has public models. There's a couple that are super, super realistic. And I've recently been playing with it, like, 1 inch thick, black, non-slip yoga mat, and like seeing what the output is. And it looks like a picture of a yoga mat. It's very cool. So you can play around with that kind of stuff. Again, you might not be able to get a whole catalog's worth of imagery, but this is really good to help you maybe with a one-off post, like if you're using Amazon Post, for example, or if you want a foundation to give a graphic designer and say, like, this is what we're shooting for. That's really good. Other than those, which are Stable Diffusion API is like $10 a month, and then Midjourney is like $10 a month for the low plan, and then GPT Plus is $20. There's a ton of like AI tools out there. They leverage those technologies, right? If you find one that happens to put them together in a way that's convenient for you, just understand that you're not paying them for any extra functionality outside of just the way they've arranged the tools that you have access to. I use the raw tools myself, but a lot of people want that convenience. So that's why they're paying for things like copy.ai, I think is a really popular one for people in content creation in general. What is it? PixArt is one for like imagery. You can do a lot of really cool stuff if you're not a graphic designer, and it's for your phone. And they have like through that you can do like AI avatars, and you can also do that little like replace the thing in my hand, take a picture of something in your hand and turns a pineapple into a piece of cake, that kind of thing, which I can think of a bunch of different applications for e-commerce for that particular tool. So
right.
But yeah, those are the ones that I would recommend.
And we've talked a lot about like using AI for photography. Is there a solution right now for AI for videography, or is that a little beyond its scope at the moment? Because product videography is almost, I would argue, as important, if not more important, than product photography. Because oftentimes I want to see the scope of it in someone's hands, the application, taking it apart, like things like that.
100%. So this is the slower moving of all of the media pieces, right? Because this is the hardest. There are a couple of, like, I keep seeing demos of products that don't exist yet for video, and a few of them are trying to push stuff out there. I saw one that was really cool. Like, it literally is text to video. You tell it what you want. It has to have an input already. Like, you give it a video, but it changes the video. So in one example, it gave it a video of a boat, and then the AI changed it to look like I think like the boat was made of graham crackers or something. It was swimming in chocolate. Like, this is the kind of stuff we're going to see, but it's not commercially available yet. And I think it's because this is a really hard technology. What you will see a lot of are companies and platforms that they'll make a video, and essentially what they're doing is kind of using like the Canva type thing where like it animates all of the elements, but it's not necessarily like a video. It's just like got, animated elements. You'll see a bunch of that. Those are already coming out. With regard to actual like video creation, like 3D imagery level moving around and stuff, we're going to get there, but rather than being weeks away from that, we're probably like a year away from really seeing some good advancements in that. In the meantime, really what a lot of people are doing with video content as far as leveraging AI is allowing AI to transcribe, because it's like super good at that, right? And then chop up and resize your video. So like, it might not be able to create it yet, but it can definitely help you turn it into something usable.
Gotcha. Wonderful. Anthony, we're going to take another quick break here from our sponsor, and then I have 2 more questions for you. And then I want to hear all about what Signalytics has coming down the pipe, where folks can find you, learn more, all that good stuff. So let's go on ahead and take another short break.
Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at GETIDA.com/Sellernomics.
All right, you guys, again, head over to GETIDA.com/Sellernomics for the first 400. I'm talking with Anthony Lee about how Amazon sellers can leverage AI to help grow their businesses. So my next question for you, Anthony, is, will AI be able to just handle the entire selling process on Amazon from start to finish, do you think?
The thing is I think every seller would immediately be like, of course not, absolutely not. But you'd be surprised how much it could handle. I've built some automations using AI that are pretty incredible. One of them being an e-commerce bot where it actually can like scrape an AliExpress page or whatever and find the products and then post them. Like, AI rewrites everything, like all the text, and then posts them on a marketplace. Like, so
that is bonkers.
There is a really good, here's the thing though, that will be fewer and farther between because it takes a pretty high like technical understanding level to build out those tools. But I think that we're going to see that. We're going to see some people like figuring out how to fully automate. And because, especially with Amazon having API access, right? Once you have the seller partner API, not only would be able to automate the creation of listings, but you'd be able to automate the buyer-seller messaging. There's a bunch that can be done there. All of that can be handled by AI because it's all communication-based. So I think that we will see some people at least attempting to fully automate it from start to finish. Will it be able to effectively handle it at scale? I don't think so, because it breaks. It's not 100%, right? So if you're trying to do this with 100 listings, you're going to find that all of a sudden you have that dreaded red flag on your seller account because Amazon's telling you something's wrong, and then it's because you can't scale that. But could you do it with a handful? Yeah, I think we're going to see like a lot of instances where it takes 95% of the work out of it, which is kind of incredible.
Well, that's a perfect segue into my next question of, is there any fear or danger of AI replacing our teams, the folks behind these brands that make everything happen?
And that's a fair question. We see this argument all the time too, especially on LinkedIn. Everybody's like, oh, if you're worried about being replaced by AI, you weren't that good in the first place. And other people being like, oh, AI is going to take over everybody's jobs. It's like, the reality is, for like the high level stuff, like the important decision making, negotiation, and all the things that really take kind of that extra level of context, obviously AI can't replace that. But there's a lot of kind of repetitive or like low barrier of entry jobs that it does as well as a human. And unfortunately, what that means for a lot of people is business owners who are looking to optimize the way that they're spending their money as much as humanly possible. They're going to come to situations where maybe they're not laying off their staff, but like, I'll give you a real world example. I needed to do something with code. I'm not a coder, right? I asked ChatGPT to fix some code for me, and it did. What that did was it saved me from going to Fiverr and paying a guy $25 to do it for me, which is what I would have done before ChatGPT. And we're going to see a lot more of that. Like, why go and find somebody on Upwork to do this for $500? I can save that and I can figure it out on my own. And that's going to keep happening. More and more business owners are going to start moving in that direction until they get to the point where they can take, I really believe that we'll see a lot more of this. They can take somebody at a more entry-level position, pay them to get GPT to output stuff for them, and then not have to pay the much higher level, much more expensive guy because GPT can handle it, and this entry-level person knows enough to communicate with it. So we'll definitely see that too.
So it'll be some folks' positions maybe changing or shifting to work more alongside AI as opposed to being replaced by it or something like that.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, I want to hear all about this tool that you're going to build that's going to be the best in what Signalytics is doing right now. So tell us more about what y'all do.
Absolutely. So Signalytics has actually been in the AI game for probably longer than most because of the PPC tool. We have a machine learning algorithm that helps identify relevant keywords and then also scale budgets in PPC, which we've had for a while, and it's very effective. But we've always wanted to expand. And now that the technology is so easily accessible, we're going to, and we're planning out right now the tools that we want to release for Amazon sellers. Obviously, the first one being a listing optimization. We're fleshing out another tool that we've actually had for a little while, heat maps. A lot of people don't know that we have that. And it's kind of, before it was kind of a hard interface to work with anyway, but once we clean that up, we're going to put it out there. But yeah, so to kind of explain how that works, a heat map, right? You can put the code on your website and then you can tell like where people kind of hovered their mouse and where they were looking. You can't do that on an Amazon listing though, because you don't own that listing. Well, AI can simulate it though. Okay. So we have a heat map solution where AI is trained on like millions of data points where humans have done this. And then it just looks at your page and then it goes, okay, well, based on our training data, this is exactly how human beings would have reacted to this page. It's very cool. We're going to build out something that simulates A/B testing in the same way.
Well, and I was going to say for the human reaction, can you segment that out by ICP too? Like, are you able to say because sometimes you don't know who your product is exactly landing with. You want it to go to 25-year-old males, and maybe it's landing with, 40 to 50-year-old women. I don't know. Can you run different demographics?
Not yet. Not yet.
No, okay.
That's definitely in the pipeline. So right now it's just trained on, this is what shoppers in general do, right? We're looking at specifically e-commerce shoppers on marketplaces like Amazon. In the future, yes, because we now have the capability of it's like everybody's been kind of freaking out about how do you fine tune, how do you train the AI? The problem is you can only train it if the company that owns that AI allows you to, and they've stopped training their models for the stuff that they're putting out to consumers. So, but there's another way that you can do it. You can actually like kind of minor train it. It's complicated, but needless to say, we know how to build a database now that trains AI to understand those types of things. And so that will be in the pipeline. That and a number of communication stuff, all that stuff that the API connects to, which we all took for granted forever because it didn't do anything but like take data and put it in like a spreadsheet. Now we're going to stick AI in between each of those so we can have better reporting, automated customer interactions, and a whole lot more.
Incredible. And where can more folks learn about Signalytics and stay up to date on what is coming up with you guys? Where can they reach out? Sure.
Well, the website, www.signalytics.ai, or you can reach out to me directly, Anthony@signalytics.ai. We're in the process of upgrading our website. As soon as that happens within the next few days, you'll see a ton of blog content come out. Obviously, I'm going to be talking a lot more about both AI and what we're going to do with it. So, you can definitely stay tuned there.
Beautiful. And for our audio listeners, the website is signalytics.ai. That is Signalytics. And again, Anthony@signalytics.ai. Anthony, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a fabulous conversation. I'm so sorry that Rob had to drop. He's usually my AI guy. But this has been really, really insightful and helpful. Thank you so much. I hope that sellers are more excited about AI now than before, but I don't actually know if that's possible. It's been pretty hot stuff.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me and having this conversation with me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Sellernomics Podcast. Special thanks to our sponsor, GETIDA. Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at getida.com/Sellernomics. Be sure to join us again next week for more great tips on how to grow your business. And thanks again for listening.